We're going to set up scan policies for being able to scan the permissions for reporting and identity governance integration, and then also be able to scan the file system for the metadata for things like duplicate files, etc. So now that I've selected these scan targets, we're going to go in and we're going to create a scan policy. I'm going to do an add. And this one's going to be a volume free space policy. The purpose of this is to create a policy that we can use to verify that the proper permissions are set before we kick off the larger file system and permission scans. So I'm going to call this one volume free space test. And we're going to add in our 2 shares. Say OK. And then select it. And let's go ahead and do a scan now. Then we'll go and select scans in progress. And what we're looking for is operation successful. So this scan's in progress for the engineering share, and for the HQ share, I can even see that it's updating the database with the scan data. We can do a refresh, and then you can go into scan history, and you should see a success for both of those. So now that we have successfully scanned, I can go ahead, and I don't really need this anymore. I can go ahead and delete this. Now we're ready to add in our scans. So first one I'm going to do is a permission scan. So I'm going to do an HQ permissions. Then I'm going to add in this share. Now the save previous scan is used for comparison reports if you're going to be doing that. For the purposes of this, I'm just going to select this share, and we're going to be saving 1 scan. Then I'll go ahead and add in my engineering share permissions. And add that one in. Say OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and I can kick these off one at a time or both. In my environment, it would go fairly quick. Another thing you may want to do is wait on your scheduling until you see how long the scans take, because that might impact your timing for your schedules in terms of when you want to schedule those. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off the HQ permissions. Yes. And then you would go into scans in progress. Make sure that that's scanning okay, so it's going out and scanning all the folders and collecting all the permissions within the HQ share, all the department folders, and so forth. Now I can go back to my scan policies, and we'll kick off the permissions scan for the engineering share, and then go into scans in progress, do a refresh. Now I should have scan data to report against, all the permissions on the HQ share as well as the engineering share. Now that I have this permissions data collected, you're also able to go in and set up your target paths for your identity governance access reviews. As a prerequisite, you have to have your permission scans and scan data completed before you can do that. Now, at this point, I could go in and I could do a security analysis, okay, as well as the identity governance integration. So if you're only doing a project or an engagement that involves just permissions analysis, you only need to set up the permission scans. Now, if you're also going to be wanting to collect all the file system metadata for things like the aging of the files, the ownership on the files, and being able to report on that as well, you need to go in and add in your file system scans. Set those up. So I'm going to do an HQ. I'll just call it FS for short. And then now on this one, the first time you scan it, if you want to report on duplicate files based on the content hash, you'll need to select generate file content hash all files. After that, we'll come back and set it for only those files updated since the last scan. So let's add in our HQ share. Say OK. And then then we could go ahead and kick that scan off.